Welcome back to the Broker Power Up podcast, the AIME podcast for strategies, stories, and insights to help you close more loans. I'm Tommy Golightly, joined by Jonathon Haddad.
Yes, sir. Another week, another Broker Power Up, my friends.
Up to episode 18.
That's crazy. Already 18 of these. We're humming through them. We're knocking
We
them
haven't
out.
missed a week. But we have a lot going on today. We have the Broker Buzz, where we dive into the top posts of the week from the Brokers Our Best Facebook group and discuss what's trending, what's working, and what you need to know. Then we're going to have some sales pitch training where John helps us become better salespeople. And then we will wrap things up with story time with John. But first, how we start every podcast, a fortune cookie. So this was on my desk all week. I've been staring at it. And the reason I did, it's one that I can not make a mess.
Oh, nice and easy.
So I can slide it out and hopefully save myself some cleanup later. Maybe I'm going to have to look it up later, whether it's bad luck to not break the fortune cookie. I feel like that could be a thing. But life is a gamble, so roll the dice.
That one is so straightforward. That's
life is a gamble, so roll the dice.
That's that you only live once mentality.
I don't like that. I'm not a gambler.
No, you know, I one, definitely done my fair share of gambling. Okay, so I'll definitely start there. But two, it's to me, it's just your what is your tolerance for risk? We've talked about that before on the show. Like, it really is like, okay, what is your tolerance for risk? Understand you have to take risk. I think that's the biggest piece of what that fortune cookie is. Like, yes, it's so subtle. Yes, it's generalized. You can make it into so many different things. But no matter how many people I talk to, the people that are most successful that I've spoken to, the people that have done the most internal healing, they're the ones that talk about all the risks that they've taken. Every single time, they're like, you know what, though, if I didn't do this, I wouldn't be who I am today. If I didn't try this, I wouldn't be able to done this. That risk is such an important piece. And whether you're a gambler or not, to your point, you know, because I agree with you. Like, it's such a big thing to unwrap and unravel. But are you taking the risk that you need to be taking? If what you're doing right now isn't working, you have to just take it. Give yourself that chance. John, I have a family. John, I have this. I'm not telling you to risk it all on black. That's not.
You don't have to put it all down.
No. But you got to put something's got to change. You can't look me dead in the eye and say, there's nothing I can do to change the way my day goes. That is just a blatant lie to yourself. And you do have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and make those changes when they pop up. Or they present themselves, I should say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I take it as, and I was thinking about it this weekend. Life is a series of choices. You are constantly making choices. You are constantly doing things, whether you think about them as a choice or not. And I think as you become more experienced, things become more automated for you instead of choices. So like, you technically taking the trash out each week is a choice, right? But it's kind of just something you've automated. But dealing with a more difficult, unusual situation, those are still choices, but they're harder choices, right? So it's just one of those things where life is literally just a series of choices. And it's maybe what I take from this is risking or changing how you interact with those choices and maybe choosing a different path on something that you do regularly. Obviously, continue to take out your trash, but that could become a problem. But maybe interact with your neighbor more, or just something different. Take a risk, make a change in the choices that you're making. But yeah, I don't agree with gambling, but the only real gambling that I do is with shiny cardboard and trading card games. That's as close as gambling as I get.
I mean, it still counts.
It does. It certainly does.
It's a huge, that's a whole realm. You know, like that's a whole other thing to unpack in terms of, just so y'all know, that is a very lucrative industry. It can be. It really can. And there's so much that goes into it that it is risk. Like there is still risk.
Oh, it absolutely is. But it's a thing where you can store the risk, and you can sell the risk. So
Yeah.
interesting things. But let's get into the broker buzz with our first question this week. Is it me or them? I have two couples buying a condo in a ski resort together. Both couples want to put their title in their trusts. So, two trusts. Lender is telling me no, one trust is allowed only. Is that a them thing, or is there a problem with two trusts I am not seeing?
So we talked about this briefly before. Number one, it's a ski resort, which got to be careful there. That's something called a condo tell, which basically you just have to do extra due diligence just to make sure it passes the financing and to make sure that you can get financing on there. So if you've done that and that looks good, great. The trust situation, we've talked about irrevocable trust and revocable trust. So there's two huge key differences there. We've talked about it on a previous episode that you can go look and see the differences. With that being said, that's more than likely a lender overlay. So, what would I say to a consumer like that? Look, one, you do got to make sure that there isn't anything guideline specific. It sounds like from the question that you looked it up and that the lender actually didn't have anything on there regarding it. So, if that's the case, then what I advise clients is after closing, move it and adjust it however you want when it comes to the title. So I would close with one trust and just abide by the lender and what they're trying to do. Then look up their guidelines, like we talked about. There are lenders are allowed to have overlays. So they could have some weird stipulation that says that we as the lender can call this loan due in full if XYZ happens. That's similar to an irrevocable trust that we talked about, where a lender can ask for the full mortgage to be paid. Also, transferring it to a business, lenders can ask for the full mortgage to be paid. They don't always do it, but they legally can based off guidelines. So double check your work with the lender. Make sure there's no additional overlays. Let them close and abide by whatever the lender says. After closing, you can ask title to move it into a double trust, or you could hold title kind of not any which way you want, but you have a lot more flexibility after the loan closes, pending the guidelines are met when it comes to the lender. But I don't believe there's anything there for standard conventional financing where you wouldn't be allowed to move it into a double trust.
Awesome. Before we move into the next one, I had a sub question on this one. So, say like my wife and I wanted to buy an investment home but wanted to also go in on that with another couple that we're best friends with. Is that a thing? Like, can you do like four people investment property?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So
You don't have to go into it. I was just curious. That was just my follow-up question because as I was pulling this question, I was like, huh, I didn't really
well,
think about
there
that
is, well, you can. So just to be clear, like there is methods in the way that you file title, right? So it's not like a one method works kind of situation. So to your point, the way you file title, right? It's tenants in common
before.
is the way I believe you'd have to file it to do the double where you're splitting the ownership into shares. You couldn't just do it as a joint ownership, because if you do a joint ownership, you can't have two trusts, right? You can just have one.
Right.
So it's not that it's easy to do, but there are ways to do it. You just need to figure it out outside of closing because there'll be a mess doing it during the process.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Learn something new every day, especially when we do these podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So, number two is not loading. How do you stay motivated when three deals fall apart in 1 week?
You're going to hate my answer on this for a lot of the loan officers listening here. You need to live with the fact that this is going to be part of your job. This is part of your career, not your job, I should say. And it is very important that you get very familiar with this just being how you do business and you start to learn and understand from like an ROI perspective. Now, the next piece of it is one, you can sulk for a day. That's always my rule. Be upset for a day, no longer than a day. Number two, then you need to assess your phone call. Where did you go wrong? If you're a loan officer that says, well, nothing went wrong on the call, you're wrong. But John, it fell out for inspection. Well, great. Did you ask right questions about the home? Did you ask questions about what the inspection would be? Did you ask about the foundation? Did you talk to the agent about the shape of the home? Did you do all of that? Did you do your due diligence there? Well, no, I didn't. Well, at least start having those conversations to prep your mind. So imagine now you go in, because let's just say it's a low appraisal. Let's just say it's inspection, because that's what loan officers tell me all the time, Tommy. They say, yeah, but John, they didn't fall out for anything that was my fault. What do you mean? All right, no problem. Not your fault directly. Fine. Well, if that's the case, why not mentally prep your brain for what could happen? That's why I like to ask those questions about the home. You think it'll pass an inspection? What concerns you with the inspection when I talk to the listing, or when I talk to the client's agent? And then if they tell me, yeah, there might be a couple things that pop up, the house is a little older, well, at least mentally I'm prepped in my head that this loan could die out because of a failed inspection. So I'm just mentally prepping myself and getting myself into that mode of what expectations are, what sales is, and just being able to handle that in my head. You're in commission sales. You start at zero. The job isn't done until the deal is completely closed and finalized. So you got to go in with that methodology. You can sulk for a day. I get it's food on your table. I get that's how you pay your bills. I get all of that. Nothing you can do except ask more questions and mentally prep yourself.
Yeah, and learn from the experience, right? Note it down, take those questions that you could have asked and ask them the next time.
Yep, 100%.
Cool. Well, in the other side of that, at what volume did you hire your first LOA? I'm drowning at 15 loans a month.
So when I was going nuts and doing about 30, 40 units a month, I did start with the Todd Bitter method that we talk about. So I did all my own processing. I just worked throughout the day, and at night is when I processed all my loans. Yes, there is it's a huge commitment. I have kids now, family, so finding that time is not easy. I'm a huge, huge advocate for LOAs, for processors, in-house or third party, doesn't matter to me. But from an LOA perspective, 10 is the number in my head. 10 is the number in my head. And then you work out, obviously, whatever the compensation agreement is that you work out with your LOA, depending on how great they are. I've seen 10 basis points up to 25 basis points paid, plus potential salary situations for LOAs. But here's the situation, though. You have to just justify and do the math in your head. Adding that LOA, can you increase your business by double? That's always what I tell my people. Can you bring in double the amount of business because of adding an LOA? If the answer is yes, it makes sense. And if you're like, well, I'm not sure, listen, if you're not sure, then your business isn't moving in the direction that you might think it's moving in. Any person that I've ever had bring on an LOA, they were at a point where they're like, yo, there's no way I can do this without somebody helping me at this point. I'm just getting traction. The number to me is 10. I think 30 days, right, you call it. If you're doing 10 loans on a monthly basis, you have a lot of time. You got basically 3 full days to work on each potential loan, right? 3 full days of all the conditions. That's 72 hours that you get to work on it. Yes, I get it. Your time is split accordingly, but 10 is the magic number for me. I think 15, you're pushing it, trying to do it all by yourself and doing the best job possible for every single consumer. So 10's the number. Work out the compensation. Make sure it's going to help you bring in more business. If it's not, to me, it's not worth it.
If you are a newer LO, what would you say? So 10 is the number. How many months would you have to go 10 plus before you consider being like, this is a constant trend, opposed to this 90, is the first time days. I hit?
For me, it's 90 days. Like if you're 3 months back to back to back, where applications are coming in, submissions are coming in, pre-approvals, 3 months back to back to back, that's where you just got to start going, okay, what do I do next? And if you're a new loan officer, look into third-party processing companies as well. It'll save you tremendous amount of money. And some of these companies have absolutely the most elite processors I've ever met. And it's not a charge to you. It's passed down to the consumer, but there's a great service being provided. It is providing a wonderful experience for your client as well. So even if you're a brand new LO, look into third-party processing to minimize your costs. There's opportunity there because what's going to happen is this: if you're a new LO, Tommy, you're going to get good and you're going to do what all of us do. Every top producer does is this. I did the same thing. No one knows as much as I do on the loan, though. I got to get involved every step of the way. I got to do the training. Just do it now. Learn to let go of it now. The top producers, the biggest producers, all have somebody helping them, and they've learned to let go. If they can do it, so can you. I used to think I couldn't let go. The reality is, once I did, my business was able to move even faster at a higher clip.
Awesome. Well, if you are a member of the Brokers Are Best Facebook group and want your questions answered here on the podcast, be sure to use hashtag BrokerPowerUp on your post when you post into Brokers Are Best, and we will make sure we get it answered here. So if you are not in the Brokers Are Best Facebook group and want to become one and become an AIME member, you can scan the QR code in this next ad, and we'll be on the other side to teach you how to become a better salesperson.
Are you a wholesale mortgage professional? Well, then the very first thing you need is a community to help you and your business grow. With AIME membership, your community is right here. Joining our community means never navigating the market alone or operating without a safety net ever again. We are 16,000 members strong of united wholesale professionals. From rookies to top-ranking originators, all dedicated to supporting each other's success so we can grow together. Beyond entry to the best community in the mortgage industry, AIME membership gives you the resources, tools, guidance, discounts, services, and support that help you and your wholesale business grow, thrive, and most importantly, close more loans. AIME membership connects you with leading wholesale lenders and vendors, offering you exclusive access, services, and discounts that save you more money while helping you make more money. Never get stuck on a loan again with our lender escalation program. Grow your network and skills with the wholesale industry's best conferences and networking events. Get the strategies and skills of top originators and industry innovators with AIME's cutting-edge wholesale mortgage education, resources, and content. AIME offers all of this and more, starting at a low price of $19.99 a month. You heard it here first, couple cups of Starbucks coffee. For you to learn more and get started, all you have to do is visit aimegroup.com, AIME group.com /membership. Your community is waiting.
All right, and we're back. Quick follow-up. It is not bad luck to take a fortune out of a fortune cookie without breaking it. So we're in the clear.
Thank God. Yeah.
I know. So let's become better salespeople. John, what do you have for us today?
All right. So today, what I'm going to talk about is something really, really simple. So this is reading a room when you enter a situation. So a lot of people ask me about, okay, when you walk into a room, how do you know who to go talk to? How do you know who to go connect with? And I've been sitting on this question for some time. I've been at this now for about 13 years, and I've been networking a majority of those 13 years. So yes, I have a feel for it. I can kind of tell, who's moving the room, who's able to shake things around a bit. And then I'm not going to pretend that I'm not I'm a larger individual. So it does make it a little easier sometimes for me to approach somebody, right, in a situation like that, because I have some presence that carries about me just because of my size. So I have learned to also leverage that. So let's just say you don't have the most confidence in the world. You're not sure what to do. So the best way to enter a room when maybe you don't have the most confidence is the first thing that you do that I learned from Renee Rodriguez is this. Second you enter the room, pause at the door. This is from Renee directly. Pause at the door, sit there for like 2-3 seconds until it becomes slightly unbearable, where internally you're like, oh, people might be watching me right now. Live in that feeling, embrace that feeling. That's the first thing that you want to do, is live there, because what that does is it's going to allow you to stop thinking about what do I need to do next. And you can now live and say, okay, I'm stopping at the door. Let me wait here till it becomes just awkward enough. You're now having internal dialogue with yourself and changing the narrative about how you're going to enter the space. Number 2, I always scan for micro clusters. So what do I mean by micro clusters? If you're too nervous, or let's just say you don't have the confidence, you don't want to look at a group that has 15 people in it, that's a little circle talking when networking, and there's 15 of them standing with their arms crossed talking to each other. That's probably a deep conversation. They've probably known each other for some time. They have probably some similar interests. I'm looking for micro clusters of 2 to maybe 5 people tops. So right away, I'm scan, looking over, trying to see, avoiding the groups of 10 to 15. Let me find that 2 to 5. Groups of 2 to 5 seem to be the easiest ones to embed myself in. Why? Well, there's room for conversation. There's room to speak. That group of 15, it's going to be hard for you to get anything out in general. So I'm looking for body language that's open. I'm looking for 2 to 5 people. So that's step 2. Step 1, pause, sit at the door frame. Step 2, look for micro clusters. Look for people 2 to 5. Number 3, listen to the energy levels in the room. High energy groups are laughing and they're super animated. Those are the groups, if you're nervous, that you want to embed with right away. Those are the ones you want to find. It'll just be easier to jump into the conversation with a group like that. Now, if there's a group that's dialed in, they're not very loud, it could be just a very deep analytical conversation. If that's your bet, if that's what you're good at, okay, go for it. But just understand something. Being somebody new and trying to embed yourself into a deep conversation could make you come across by looking a certain way, like, oh, this person thinks they know everything. Especially if they don't know you, it's their first time at the event, and if that group knows each other very well, it's going to feel a certain way trying to embed yourself in a deep conversation about, I don't know, call it, even though they shouldn't be, religion and politics. Last thing you want to do is, you know what I think about that, from a group of people you've never talked to in your life.
Yeah.
So that's number 3, is understand the energy. And then number 4, last but not least, notice eye contact and orientation. It is super important to see where their eyes are roaming around. And what I look for is wandering eyes, right? If someone's eyes are wandering or they're opening or they're looking around, just know they're also nervous to be there. So I'm looking for those people immediately. And you're not walking up saying, oh, you're nervous too. Don't do that, because you could be wrong. But generally speaking, it's a rule of thumb that's what it means. So those are the people I'm going to go try and find. So those are 4 steps that you can do to make yourself the ultimate networker. And then you'll start learning how to start and spark the conversations. But if you follow those 4 steps, it'll help you so drastically. Number 1, stand in the door until it's just awkward enough to where people might be looking at you. That'll teach you and calm your ground, calm your nervous system. Number 2, look for micro clusters. The large groups might not be the groups you want to embed yourself with. Look for groups of 2 to 5, easier to start. Number 3, listen to the energy levels, people that are animated, hands around. That's an easier conversation to embed yourself in than one that might be super serious, especially if it's your first impression. And then number 4 is the eye contact and orientation of the way people are looking, standing, feeling. Pay very close attention to it. Spot 2 or 3 people that you see like that and embed yourself into those conversations as confidently as you can. Those are the 4 steps to help you when it comes to networking.
When you come to, you brought up like the arms. Like that's also, isn't that a body language of not as approachable, or not wanting to be approached, or not wanting to engage? So maybe look for people that have their hands at their side, or
yes, the answer, again, it's a general rule of thumb, and it doesn't mean you're always going to be right. You know, Renee's talked about that before, where it's like that person could also, they could be cold. They could have this, right? They could be cold. But to your point, general rule of thumb, because that's what you're going to do up front, is just going to be based off the data. You're spot on, right? Generally speaking, like this, if I'm turned like this and I'm talking to Tommy and my arms are crossed up here and I'm sitting there talking like this, yes, that is, you don't want to start the conversation with me. Why? It's also going to, it could deter your confidence. If you walk up and someone hasn't acknowledged you and they're sitting there like this, and I'm talking to Tommy for 2 minutes and you're just behind me waiting to interject in the conversation, your confidence is going to get hurt. So you got to put yourself in a spot where you're getting those small wins. And so paying attention to that stuff, yeah, you're spot on. And again, is it going to be right every time? The answer is absolutely not. But now you have the framework to understand and at least have an approach to entering a networking event.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I definitely learned a lot from that. But if you want to put those networking skills to the test, the ultimate place to do that is going to be at Fuse. So make sure, if you are an AIME annual member, that you claim your ticket. It is available now. And if you are not, be sure to stay tuned to our socials when we release general public tickets. Or you can become a member now and claim your ticket. So either way, we'll see you on the other side for some story time.
Fuse is just around the corner, believe it or not, another year down. And we are excited for the largest event of the entire wholesale mortgage industry. Fuse National Conference 2025 is taking its show on the road. Now emanating from Nashville, Tennessee, from October 23rd through the 25th. This event is all about sales, sales, sales. Don't miss the chance to join us in Music City for 3 days full of the most cutting-edge content we've ever produced, featuring the industry's top minds, leaders, and innovators. Access the newest tools and resources from wholesale leading lenders and vendors. Take part in our acclaimed workshop summits for free. Catch wholesale's rising stars in their very own breakout sessions. And of course, take part in the best and, quite frankly, the most fun networking opportunities you'll find in the wholesale channel. Join us to grow your network, your skill set, and your business at what will no doubt be the greatest Fuse conference yet. Go to fuse.aimgroup.com to sign up and receive updates when tickets go on sale. Secure your hotel room and get your Fuse tickets for free. That's a $600 value for the prices as low as $199 when you sign up for an AIME annual membership. Don't miss your chance to be there when wholesale history is made at Fuse 2025. I can't wait to see you there.
All right, and we're back. John, the floor is yours for story time.
Yes, sir. Story time. Story time about reading a room. Okay. This is a bit about Starbucks. So in the early 1980s, Howard Schultz was working at a Swedish housewares company, and a bunch of different shops bought coffee from them. Well, there was this one small coffee shop that was ordering a very high amount of drip brewing equipment. So that's to drip the coffee. You take the beans, right? You crush them. They're ordering a lot, but they're such a small shop. And he was wondering to himself, he goes, what are they doing? I've never seen anything like this. Keep in mind, this is the early 1980s. So coffee isn't what we know of it today. So he decides to fly out. He says, you know what? I'm going to go fly and meet these clients in Seattle. Let me just see what it's about. Now, when he arrived at this Starbucks, he could not believe what he saw. He walked into a coffee shop, and all he saw was people talking about life. He saw the employees super excited to talk about the beans. He saw what Starbucks was really trying to shape itself to be. This is in the early 80s. So the founders of Starbucks that he met and he noticed were purists. All they cared about was the highest quality of coffee beans that they could make. And that's how they lived. That's what they would talk about. That's what they lived and breathed on a daily basis. Now, Schultz, seeing all this and being the business person that he was, he saw a cultural movement. He saw something way bigger than just coffee. This is at a time to where you got in, grabbed a cup of coffee, and you walked out and got along with your day. And instead, in the 1980s, he saw what we see today, where I think there can be networking that goes on here. I think there can be deep, meaningful conversations about something as simple as coffee. And he decided that, and he understood that by going into a situation, just flying in, being a spectator, reading the room. And so here's what he did. What he did up front is he started to immerse himself in the entire environment that was Starbucks. He immersed himself with the team. He started listening to them, having conversations with them. He started understanding the philosophy. He asked insightful questions. He wanted to learn about the vision. Where do they all see the company going? What do they believe this could really turn into if all the cards were played out right? And they all started sharing with him. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you asked. No one's ever asked us that question before. Here's what we see. And they had such a different methodology. They had such a different belief system about coffee. Now, what Schultz started doing after this was he said, you know, I'm going to just make little small contributions, giving advice and tips to Starbucks. And he was really cautious with how he did this. He didn't go in and say, here's what you have to do. Here's what you have to change. He was very aware that if he took that approach, Starbucks was just going to exit. Why would you stay? This is a small shop that's doing really well at the time. So he was very cautious with what he did, but he started offering little ideas, little tips, little tricks. He started talking about potentially expanding. He was never pushy, was just always very helpful. And years later, We all know what happened. Years later, he ended up traveling to Italy to experience the espresso bar culture. And he started to learn that and he started to understand that because Starbucks was taking things very seriously. And simply by listening, simply by entering a room and paying close attention to what was going on, this human being helped scale and build Starbucks to what it is today. All by networking and reading a room properly, and all by talking to the people the way that they need to be spoken to, meeting them at the ground level, meeting them eyeball to eyeball, and having deep conversations, showing true interest, being excited about what could happen. And the most important piece is he never made it about himself and how much money he could make. He made it about their philosophy, what they stand for, and that's what allowed it to explode into the organization that it is today. So when you say, how important is it to read a room? Well, I got 100 stories like that that tell you very important to learn how to do it. So ask yourself, are you leaving business on the table because of your inability to read a room? I would bet to say it's yes. But what are you doing to work on that and to improve your craft every single week? You have the opportunity, you have the tools, and I challenge all of you to put yourself in that spot and on a weekly basis, go to a Starbucks that's close to you, further you away from you. And if you don't want to do Starbucks, do another coffee shop, but go strike a conversation in a coffee shop. You would be surprised how many high-level human beings you will meet, my friends. That is our story for the week.
Awesome. I love drip coffee. That's how I make my coffee at home. But two, I have to shout out my mom on this one. Listener of the podcast. Hi, Mom. There was a coffee shop. There was not a coffee shop on a corner in our neighborhood. And my mom was like, you know what? I want to open up a coffee shop there. And then my dad's response was, you know how many cups of coffee you would need to sell just to keep the lights on? Do you know what's on that corner now?
A coffee shop.
A Starbucks.
Oh.
And do you know what? And do you know what's across the street on the other corner?
Please tell me it's like a Tim Hortons.
It's a Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, no.
And do you know what's down the street from those two coffee shops?
A local coffee shop.
Two local coffee shops.
Oh, no.
Within literally a block and a half. All
this is
prospering
fantastic.
and doing well. All prospering and doing well.
God, I bet that there's no way that's ever lived down.
Oh no, it is brought up every time they drive by. It was very funny.
Do you remember when? Oh, yep. That is such a great. I'm so glad that you mentioned that story. That is exactly what we're talking about.
So, but yeah, cool. I think it just really is important to go in and learn and understand what's important to the people that are there and interacting. If you go and ask somebody what they're passionate about, they will talk to you about it. They could have just met you 2 seconds ago. If you know what they're interested in and you ask them questions on that topic, they're just gonna keep talking until you tell them to stop.
So, people love talking about things they're passionate about. It's our job to help bring that forward.
Yep, absolutely. So, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Broker Power Up podcast. If you found today's tips helpful, do us a favor, hit the like button to let us know you enjoyed it, which helps even more people see this content. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring the bell to get notified every time we drop new content. Share this video with a fellow broker who could use a power up, and remember to lead by example, to lift each other up, to grow together, and most importantly, close more loans. Until next time, keep powering up.
Take care, y'all.